Hello and welcome to A Worm. Today we'll be taking a look at the anatomy of the liver. The liver is your largest internal organ. It sits under the diaphragm and on top of the stomach, right kidney, and intestines. So this right here is a pig liver, and it has a few differences from a human liver we'll discuss later. It's also slightly bigger than the human liver. The liver has more than 500 vital functions. Just some of its functions include detoxifying various metabolites, synthesizing proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, regulating glycogen storage, producing certain hormones, and producing bile. In fact, the liver's function is so complex and multifaceted that there are no artificial livers that can replace it, and liver transplantation is the only option for complete liver failure. So right here is the posterior side, meaning this side would be facing the back, and when I turn it over, it's pretty heavy. This side is the anterior side, meaning this side would be facing your front. So the pig liver has 5 lobes in comparison to human livers, which only have 4. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and a smaller caudate lobe around here. So that's 5 lobes. So now let's look at this greenish pouch here. So we're going to zoom in. So this is the gallbladder, which stores the bile that the liver produces. Bile is used to digest lipids. Think of scrubbing a very oily plate. The water will just wash right off the oily plate unless you have some soap to break up the oil. Bile works similarly in the digestive process, breaking up lipids so that it can be absorbed. So the bile is produced here in the liver and drains out of the liver through a passage called the common hepatic duct, which would be over here, but you can't really see it because of all the fat. And then it'll drain into the gallbladder here, and bile is green, which is why the gallbladder has this kind of greenish tint. After that, the gallbladder releases the bile through this passage called the bile duct. You can see it right here, and it still has some of that greenish bile in it. And the gallbladder releases the bile into the small intestine. So now let's take a closer look at the gallbladder. So here, this part that overhangs out from the liver and isn't really attached is called the fundus of the gallbladder. And this part that's attached to the liver is called the body. And this narrower part is called the neck of the gallbladder. So another important thing to note is that the diaphragm, right here, stretches right over the superior surface of the liver here. So here's the diaphragm. And actually in this triangular part of the liver, called the bare area, the liver is attached directly to the diaphragm by loose connective tissue. And this is why you can see that the texture of the bare area is a lot rougher than the rest of the liver here, which is a lot smoother because it's in contact with the peritoneum. The diaphragm here needs to cover almost the entire expanse of your torso in order to create negative pressure on the lungs when it contracts so that you can breathe. Because of this, when things need to pass between the diaphragm, there's usually a notch on the liver so that the diaphragm isn't too disturbed. So for example, you can see this slight dent here, right here, and this is called the esophageal notch, and this is where the esophagus passes through. The stomach is located below the liver, so the esophagus passes through the diaphragm through this notch here and connects to the stomach below. And also you can see this large vein right here, which is sitting right inside this groove. This is the inferior vena cava, and the upper end of this goes to the diaphragm. The inferior vena cava is a vein that carries deoxygenated blood from the lower half of the body to the right atrium of the heart. And now let's look at some of the ways blood enters and leaves the liver. So we're going to zoom into this portion over here, right here. So the liver actually has a dual blood supply derived from the hepatic artery and the hepatic portal vein. So here is the hepatic artery right here, which supplies arterial blood to the liver. And right next to it, around here, let me get a probe. So there we go. So that's the hepatic portal vein, which carries venous blood drained from the stomach, intestines, spleen, and pancreas. In fact, nearly all of the blood that leaves the stomach and intestines must pass through the portal vein and into the liver before it re-enters circulation. The hepatic portal vein here supplies approximately 75% of the liver's blood, with the hepatic artery here providing the rest. Oxygen is provided from both sources, with each supplying around half the liver's oxygen demand. And now the blood that entered the liver through these two sources leaves the liver through these hepatic veins. So these are the hepatic veins here, right here. And these drain deoxygenated blood from the liver into the inferior vena cava. Alright, so now that we're done with all of the structures, I'm just going to cut into the gallbladder. So now you can see all this green liquid inside the gallbladder, and this is the bile. Alright, that's the end of the liver dissection. Thanks for staying, lads. Here's a fun fact about the liver to send you on your way. The liver is the only human organ that can completely regenerate. In fact, if 60% of your liver is removed, the remaining 40% can completely regenerate within a month. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more.